biggest news is the Iran-Israeli conflict. And it's very interesting because Israel is taking advantage of Iran, who is, to put it mildly, been quite weakened. It seems like they're flying over Tehran the way they could fly over Tel Aviv. There's just no air defenses at all. I think Iran will soon exhaust their supply of ballistic missiles, though I think we should say that 10 to 15% of them are getting through the so-called Iron Dome. But before I get your thoughts on it, let me just set it up a little bit. It really seems like the president is having his cake and eating it too right now, because the two wings of MAGA, one, the Tucker Carlsons of the world who think it's traitorous if the U.S. gets involved, and the other wing saying, we got to take Iran out, we got to pull the root out. But right now he's walking that wonderful line where someone else is doing it, but he can take credit for it. But you saw a lot of the saber rattling, or you heard a lot of the saber rattling over the weekend in terms of threats and unrest and all that. So I would just love to get both of your takes on it, because this is going to be a very important foreign policy thing. And I think it has a chance to reshape the whole Middle East. But of course, it does remind me a little bit of 2003. And I think we're naive when we think we should topple a malignant regime, which this one most certainly is. But we don't really have a plan for what's going to come next. And I don't know what really is going to come next. It could be worse, but certainly not for the women of Iran, but for the status in the Middle East. But anyway, what say you? Why don't we start with you? Why don't we start with Ashley?
Sure. Well, one thing I really think is important about all of this is all of us and everyone watching, we have no idea what's really being talked about in the Situation Room, right? We have the information that is publicly available to us. I know we all are following this very close, but some of the things I have heard that are obviously not classified anymore are, just how close Iran really was. I've heard hours, I've heard days in regards to having the nuclear weapon. And the strike took me 100% by surprise, even though the 60 days, I mean, how many times have you heard 60 days, not just with this administration, but with every modern administration about, a country in the Middle East? But for them to have that type of attack that quickly, obviously it's been planned for years, but there was an urgency. And I actually feel that it has spooked a lot of people in our government. And that's not a political statement. I just think that it was a very, very serious situation. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, are we going to use our bunker buster bombs or not? Are we going to let Israel shoot them if there are bombs, so we're not actually part of the war? I mean, I don't know. I think, what did the president give? 24, 48 hours for them to resign?
Okay.
So
I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, the president is like it because it's, he's been pressured. He's hoping would put pressure on them to want to come to the table. But just to react a little bit to a couple of things you said, and first is this idea about the intelligence, because the Israelis, and again, let's go back to 2003 when Dick Cheney was talking about mushroom clouds, and then we never found any weapons of mass destruction. Our own intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was testifying, and she said our intelligence is not showing that Iran was close to breaking out, was not showing that they were pursuing a nuclear weapon as nearly as aggressively as Israeli intelligence says. And frankly, I believe that. I always think that Iran was looking for the leverage that having a nuclear weapon would give them, more than they were actually trying to get a nuclear weapon, because they may be unpredictable, but they're not crazy. And the other point you raised, which is a really good one, is the bunker busting bombs, because if we want to get to their nuclear facilities, which some people are half kilometer or even a kilometer underground, they need our bunker busting bombs. They can't do it on their own. And the whole point is that they want to really knock out the regime. They want to pull the root out, so to speak, because if any of it is left, it might be like a cancer. It could regenerate. But please go on.
As in general, I understand, and obviously we had issues with our intelligence in 2003. I mean, a lot of that was the British intelligence, but ours too. But I also think that, did we have the same intelligence that the Israelis did? I know, obviously, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is not in favor of what's happening, and she's kind of out of favor in this administration. So that's going to be something to watch moving forward in general. But I think this whole thing sets up, and I think I said this before on one of our shows, is this fever of Middle East and hatred to Israelis, hatred to America. It reminds me of 9/11 time period again. For the first time I've felt it, and since 25 years ago. I just think that there's so much hatred for us that it makes me extremely nervous for our troops, our embassies around the world, but also in the US. So I just don't like it. I don't like the feeling. And I don't think there's anything good that comes out of this, but we have to destroy this. I mean, I'm hawkish, so I think that we have to deal with some of these issues.